With me now is national politics reporter for Politico, Eli Stokols. He joins me now from the Politico newsroom in Arlington, Virginia. Eli, we just heard that the president-elect last night condemned bigotry and prejudice. Trump has been criticized for not speaking out on the rise of hate speech incidents in the U.S. since Election Day. What do you make of the president-elect's comments last night?
Well, these were the comments that we would expect from a president-elect and from an American president. The first 20 minutes of that speech was exactly that. It was unifying. It was urging Americans to come together. It was disavowing bigotry and racism in all forms and really laying out a very ambitious, unifying vision, telling the country basically to reach for the stars, to come together, that its best days are ahead of us, the kind of platitudes, but the kind of soothing language that we have come accustomed to hearing from people after they are elected president. If he'd left it there, a lot of people think it would have been one of his best speeches. But, you know, as he often does, Donald Trump sort of went off prompter, and then for the latter half of the speech really kind of, you know, spiked the football, so to speak. He reveled in his victory. He riled up the crowd. He sort of taunted his detractors, most of all the media, for getting it wrong, spending several minutes mocking the media last night. And so really, the first rally of this thank you tour was really, you know, it was thank you. It was let's come together, but it was also I told you so. There was a lot of celebrating, a lot of end zone dancing, and this is what we've come to expect from Donald Trump, and what I think we're going to continue to see is really a split personality, a Jekyll and Hyde thing where he does one thing that is quote-unquote presidential, and then he kind of does something else that endears him to his base and sort of flies in the face of convention and behavioral norms. And we're going to continue to see this as a country, as a media, and to kind of have to make sense of it. It does sort of enable people to sort of pick and choose what they see when they look at Donald Trump, to either pick out the aspects they like or don't like, and sometimes to ignore the others.
And in that same speech, Trump announced his pick of retired Marine General James Mattis for Defense Secretary. What does this pick mean? What kind of window does this give into the type of commander-in-chief Trump is looking to be?
Well, I mean, General Mattis is a big personality, and the reaction to this so far has been really positive, even from Trump detractors and Democrats who look at James Mattis and a really decorated career in the Marines, in combat, and also see him as a very thoughtful person, kind of an iconoclast. Democrats and Republicans alike are looking at this and saying, well, you could have done a lot worse. From sort of that's the low end of the bar, and then the other people are saying this is a great, great pick. And so I think Donald Trump likes to please people. He also likes strong personalities around him. This is the second general that's going to be in his inner circle or cabinet, so to speak. And so it just tells you Donald Trump has this sort of idea of strength and power and energy. We heard him lampoon Jeb Bush throughout the campaign about his energy levels. He's apparently talked in recent days wondering to his advisors if Rudy Giuliani, who takes naps in the afternoon, has the energy to serve as his Secretary of State. No question about Mad Dog Mattis's energy. I think Donald Trump loves the persona. He's a salesman, first and foremost, Donald Trump, and I think he really likes the fact that this is the guy who's going to be the public face of the Pentagon for his administration.
And all eyes are also now on the Secretary of State. Today, the president-elect is meeting with former Ambassador John Bolton. He's been floated for the position, and looking at Trump's cabinet pick so far, do you think he's a front runner for the state position at this point?
Well, I've heard that he's not a front runner. He's certainly not among the top 4 finalists that Kellyanne Conway has mentioned on TV. Of course, as Kellyanne Conway said earlier this week, you know, she's not under oath when she's on TV. You never really know where things are at, where, you know, when people are telling you one thing. I think it's very clear that John Bolton has a relationship with Trump that goes back a long way, someone that Trump likes and trusts. I don't know if he's the person that Trump has sort of imagined as being the face of the nation's diplomacy under his administration. The Secretary of State, by far the most high-profile cabinet position there is, but I think the tension inside Trump Tower right now related to the pro-Giuliani faction of his inner circle, people talking about Petraeus, and the people who really like the idea of Mitt Romney. We understand Vice President-elect Pence, whose stock is high with Trump right now, I hear, that he is the top supporter of Romney. And so perhaps the confusion or the conflict inside Trump Tower may enable someone we're not watching like John Bolton to sort of walk in and emerge as the person who becomes the Secretary of State, I think it is fairly likely that you'll see Bolton in this administration one way or another, and fairly likely that he'll be at the State Department. But whether that's as Secretary of State or perhaps Deputy Secretary of State remains to be seen. Certainly most of the speculation thus far has centered on either Romney or Giuliani. And I think Petraeus is someone who's very interesting and very popular among Republicans. But I think a lot of senators, at least Republican senators, are indicating that this may be a difficult confirmation for a president-elect who campaigned on the idea of Hillary Clinton needs to be locked up for what she did, for her carelessness with classified information. That's exactly what General Petraeus has admitted to doing. And I think there are a lot of senators who, as much as they like General Petraeus, are not eager for that sort of confirmation fight.
Eli, before I let you go, today Trump announced a strategic and policy forum. And so it's a group of business leaders that he's going to call on for insights during his time in office. What role do you think that these people will play for the future president?
Not much, to be honest. I mean, this is the most sort of politician-y thing that a president-elect might do, and something that doesn't get a lot of splash. It's not really a very Trump-like thing to do, to put together a panel, a blue ribbon panel, or a forum of business leaders. But Donald Trump comes from the business world. He's pledged to run the country more like a business. I think he will always draw on input from a lot of people, whether they're part of some official panel, whether they're just people who call him on the phone. This is a guy who likes to be on the phone a lot and get input from a lot of different places before he arrives at a decision. So I don't know if this panel per se will be all that influential going forward in terms of developing his economic policy. But I think he'll listen to pretty much anybody who he respects, and that's a big group of people at this point.
Politico's Eli Stokols. Thanks, Eli.
Thank you.